St. Vincent College, Latrobe, Pennsylvania. On a hill overlooking the practice fields at Steelers training camp sits a single bench, dedicated to a singular man. He never played a down of either college or pro ball, but Bill Nunn Jr. is a transcendent figure in football history. As a journalist, he was a trailblazer. As a scout, he was a legend. As a man, he was a quiet force.
It doesn't matter to us where a prospect is. We have quite a few prospects from smaller schools.
In a career that spanned over 6 decades, he played a pivotal role in the integration of pro football and helped build all 6 of Pittsburgh's championship teams.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have won the Super Bowl for a 6th time.
I'm John Stallworth, and this is a Steelers story. Super Scout Bill Nunn. My draft class in 1974 is considered by many to be the greatest in league history. That year, the Steelers added 5 Hall of Famers: Lynn Swann, Jack Lambert, Mike Webster, Donnie Shell, and me. We won the Super Bowl that year and forged a dynasty. I would have never been a part of that if not for one very special man, Bill Nunn.
He was always very pragmatic. He was a funny guy, demanding guy, people guy.
He was really engaging. He was a people person, always find the value in people, even though he was incredibly humble and didn't usually talk about himself.
The smile, the kind eyes, and the ability to be compassionate and be a listener before a talker.
Bill grew up in the Homewood section of East Pittsburgh. Bill's father, William Nunn Sr., worked for the Pittsburgh Courier, the preeminent black newspaper in the country.
I think he grew up with the spotlight. You know, his dad was the publisher of the Pittsburgh Courier. They had all these famous black athletes who would come through the house all the time. Because they were black, they would come to Pittsburgh and they couldn't stay in the white hotels.
All of the black celebrities, sports figures, they would roll through there when they were in Pittsburgh.
At Westinghouse High School, he excelled at basketball. His coach initially refused to start more than 2 black players at a time. Bill, as the team captain, respectfully told him no one would play if the best players didn't start. His coach relented, and his team won the city championship.
For sure, he was a super hard worker and super dedicated to anything he put his mind to, and at the time it was basketball.
Long Island University, a mixed-race school, offered him a scholarship, but his entire life he never had a black teacher. So his father gently suggested that he consider a historically black college.
Not so gentle. He said, no, you're going to an HBCU.
It was important to Bill Nunn Sr. that his son get a better understanding of black culture. There was a whole world that existed at the black colleges at that time that I think his father wanted him to appreciate and understand and to realize firsthand.
He was hard-headed. So he worked for a year And then he went where my grandfather wanted him to go, which was West Virginia State, which he had no regrets.
West Virginia State had this incredible season while Nunn was there. They went undefeated. They were probably the best team in the country, but they never got a chance to play against the white teams, and so nobody really knows.
In 1948, Bill was invited to try out for the New York Knicks and potentially break the NBA color barrier. He was also offered a 2-year contract with the Harlem Globetrotters, but he turned both of them down.
You have to remember what pro basketball was in 1948, right? It wasn't the NBA like it is today. I would have preferred playing for the Globetrotters than the New York Knicks. And I turned down that based on the travel. They couldn't go into a town and stay at a white hotel. So a lot of times they were sleeping on the bus.
He saw that as being short-lived. No matter how successful, it wasn't going to carry him, through his life.
2 years later, his high school and college teammate Chuck Cooper was the first black player drafted to the NBA. That same season, another former teammate, Earl Lord, became the first to appear in an NBA game. By then, Bill had moved on to another passion.
So he went with the other thing he loved, which was writing.
Nunn joined the Courier as a sports writer, where his father was now the managing editor.
I have to think that seeing that representation in an executive position had to influence him, knowing that he had to work twice as hard to get half as far.
One of Nunn's first assignments was covering the Dodgers when they came to Pittsburgh, after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in baseball.
Black reporters weren't allowed to be in the press box. Nunn himself becomes a pioneer. He's unsung. He didn't get the attention from Jackie Robinson, but in many ways, he was just as pioneering by being the first black reporter to sit in the press box at Forbes Field.
Around that same time, Nunn began covering football games at historically black colleges around the country. And when he was promoted to sports editor, he was given an additional responsibility.
One of the things that happened to me in my job with the Courier was that I picked the black All-America football team. That was during the period where a lot of schools in the South were still segregated. And so as a result, most of the top black talent that you found was at black schools.
Every year he had the Pittsburgh Courier All-Americans, and that was a big thing for players who were in these historical black colleges because that was the only recognition we were getting.
For most of the next 2 decades, Bill Nunn scoured the Jim Crow South to find the best black college football players. But for a black man, traveling the South alone in the 1950s and 60s, it was challenging and also dangerous.
There was this battle happening around him. America was dealing with the whole civil rights era.
Segregation. We couldn't go in all-white hotels, all-white cafeterias. I remember that.
Unable to rent a car, Nunn rode in the back of strictly segregated buses. He was traveling in Mississippi the same week in 1955 that Emmett Till was murdered.
He told a few stories of being stopped and questioned and where are you going and what are you doing.
Bill told stories about traveling in the South. Sometimes he wouldn't be permitted to stay in a particular hotel or eat in a certain restaurant, and how he kind of had to deal with that.
Because of segregation and not being able to find places to stay in the South, especially in the 50s, he would stay with coaches a lot of the times.
Nunn spent as much time as he could on black campuses, building relationships, something he was extremely good at, often staying at the homes of local legends like Grambling's Eddie Robinson.
I was really welcomed into most black colleges because I knew all of the coaches. I had had contact with a lot of the players. I wrote about them.
They had carte blanche into the black schools. And as he would share with me, most guys were afraid to go to those schools.
What I found out about going to the black schools, that the National Football League really was missing out on a lot of talent that were at those schools.
Believe it or not, in the 1950s, half the teams in the NFL were still all white. But soon, the National Football League began to draft black players, many of whom had been named on Nunn's All-America teams.
Something else I found out that other teams would call him and they would draft that player based on the knowledge and the report that he gave about him. I don't know a lot of people know that.
In 1961, Nunn personally recommended a fiery defensive end from Mississippi Valley State to the Rams. You ever heard of Hall of Famer Deacon Jones?
That's the effect he had on the National Football League, opening the door and getting those NFL scouts to come through there. He was a pioneer.
By the late 1960s, Bill Nunn's no longer a secret. Multiple NFL teams were expressing interest in hiring him.
I think it was Dan Rooney who really impressed on his father, like, we need to get Bill Nunn.
So I finally said to my father, and I said, I think we ought to hire him. I said, I really want to hire him. He said, well, you do what you think's right. So I called Nunn and I said, would like you to work for us. He says, well, I got this other job, And I said, well, you can start working with us as part-time. So he said, okay.
Of course, he worked directly with Art Jr. in the scouting department.
Okay, so I took him to my back office. We just started to talk, and after about a half hour, we agreed on so many things which should be done. And then he came to work with us, and he was really terrific.
Bill split time between the Courier and the Steelers his first year, then joined full-time as the team made another critical hire, my head coach, Chuck Noll.
Nunn realized that Noll was open to players regardless of their skin color. And when he first gets there, the Steelers still have markers. They're putting markers on the board for, like, this is a black player, this is a white player. Nunn's like, you gotta get rid of the markers, let's just look at the players. And Noll totally bought into that as well, that it wasn't about skin color, it was about who could play the game.
The guy that was really instrument was Chuck Noll. See, Chuck Noll was genuinely a good person, right? Colorblind.
For his first draft in 1969, Chuck was very high on a defensive tackle from North Texas State, so Bill flew down to meet him.
I came in my apartment when they opened the door. There Bill was sitting there on the sofa. And when he saw me, Bill Nunn, Pittsburgh Steelers. I said, okay. I think he thought I was gonna jump on him because he stood up real quick. After all of that time, and especially my first year, I would always say, Bill Nunn, Pittsburgh Steelers.
As a scout, Bill's background as both an athlete and a journalist set him apart. He knew what skills to look for and how to engage people to get the information he needed.
A lot of times, these guys were playing multiple sports, so he would go ask the track coach how high he can jump, or he would ask the basketball coach what his skills were. He was pioneering in that he would get information from a bunch of different sources.
He'd watch the tape and he could tell guys that how they moved, their feet, their hips, their knees.
He had a great eye for talent, a great eye for people. Because the fun thing about Bill Nunn is he put character above everything else.
The one thing about Bill Nunn that was really unique was he had such a keen ability to identify guys that loved football and had a desire to be great and be champions.
Sometimes you can find a guy with good work ethic, good toughness, good strength. He might not be the greatest athlete in the world, but he brings other things to the table.
The one thing I always want to emphasize with Bill, he was not only an HBCU scout. Bill would go to all the major universities and scout as well. But that one niche that he could provide that some of us others couldn't, was very, very instrumental in building those great teams of the 70s.
And this is where the Bill Nunn story flows into the John Stallworth story, and it forever changed my life. Everybody knew who Bill was. Bill was a man. When he came to campus, everybody paid attention. You knew Bill was there. And you knew what a good relationship with Bill meant to you as a football player and going into the NFL. In 1974, after my senior year, Bill came to campus with a number of other scouts.
And in those days, there was no combine, there were no pro days. The scouts would get together and say, okay, we're gonna run and work this player out.
It was a cold day, it was a wet day, and I don't think I ran my best time.
He runs, and his time isn't all that great. And so the scouts were all walking back to their car afterward, and Nunn starts coughing. He's like, guys, I don't feel well. I'm gonna hang back. I'll catch up with you at the next stop. And as soon as they pull out of the parking lot, Nunn runs back to Stallworth's dorm, knocks on the door, and said, "Hey, will you try out for me again? Do you want to run again?"
Bill wants to time me again. He wants to take me to a different place, so we go to a local high school. I run the 40. Bill says, "Okay, Bip, that's good." And he never says anything else to me. I don't know what I ran. I don't know if the time was better than the day before. I don't know whether this is out of the norm.
But what he actually ran, nobody knows. And that, in the meantime, when he stayed back that extra day, with his relationships with the coaches at Alabama A&M, he said, "Hey, can I take that film?"
Nunn goes back to the athletic office and grabs up all the film on John Stallworth, but then holds on to the film so no one else in the NFL can see the same material.
And he promised he would get the film to share with the other scouts. And for some reason, that didn't happen. I don't know what happened.
Well, I heard it kind of got lost. The film on it and everything, everybody looked at the film on it, it kind of got lost.
John probably isn't that happy that Bill may have been responsible for him lasting to the fourth round, but everything turned out all right in the end.
Everything worked out. It worked out for John Stallworth. It worked out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't change a thing. Bill wasn't just a super scout. He was the training camp director, where he made a profound impact on a lot of lives.
He starts getting creative about it, putting black and white guys together, new guys with veterans, and trying to create sort of that chemistry that goes into to winning football.
Parkinson looks and fires down the middle, and there it's broken up, taken out of the air by Bill Blood, running to the left, turning the corner, he's in there for a touchdown for Pittsburgh. The Steelers are the Super Bowl champions, and Lynn Swann going for it. Swann pulls it in for a touchdown. Lynn Swann beat his man on a bomb.
75-yard touchdown long bomb by Terry Bradshaw, who put it right on the money.
Pittsburgh has taken 4 Super Bowl victories under Chuck Noll in the 70s.
After almost 20 years with the Steelers, Bill Nunn officially retired in 1987, but he couldn't stay away.
He would tell me when I came back as a special assistant, he said, "You know I'm retired, don't you?" He'd always say, "You know I'm retired," but he was still working.
He would say, this is my last year, guys. I'm gonna retire for real this time. And everybody would laugh and have a good time. And then, we'd be like, sit down, Nunn, come on, we know you're coming back.
Nunn continued to come to the office for the next 27 years. The Steelers named the draft room after him. Late in his life, he continued to mentor younger scouts who often drove him home.
I had a really good relationship with them. I used to drive them home after work and have great conversations about the meetings, but also learn from them through that process.
He loved telling a good story, and they loved hearing it. No matter how long it took, sometimes they're sitting out in front of the house after they got home.
The long goodbye. So, he'd be in the middle of a story, you'd think he'd be ready to get out. Francis would be waiting at the door, his wife, and then he would just start on to the next topic.
And it wouldn't stop. You didn't want it to stop, He has so many stories and he has so many facts.
He talked to them not only about scouting, but he talked to them about life and, like dad kind of stuff.
Just his spirit and just being around him, and you just never wanted to leave.
In late April of 2014, as the Steelers were preparing for the NFL draft, Bill was reviewing player evaluations with the other scouts.
I remember him first coming in that morning, and he was his regular upbeat self. And he's like, "It's gonna be a good day today, baby." I had my back turned to him, facing the wall, but you just heard some papers rustling in the back. And, you start to hear some of the scouts kind of worried.
Bill had suffered a stroke while doing the job that he loved.
Kevin called my mom. I came and got her. We went to the hospital. Everybody was there. The coach was there. The Rooneys were there. The whole scouting staff was there. They were just wonderful. Through the whole process.
Bill Nunn died on May 6, 2014 at the age of 89, just days before the NFL draft.
Yeah, it was really hard to carry on after that. He just meant so much to so many people in there.
We would always all take a picture at draft time with all the scouts and the coaches. We left a chair empty and held up a picture of Bill just to represent, the greatness that he always gave us in that room, and wanted to make sure he would always be a part of it.
It was a tight group and felt like family, and it was sort of like a celebration for us of a family member passing on. So,
of course, it brought tears to my eyes when I saw it. It was just the sweetest, most thoughtful thing.
Hello, is this Linnell?
It is.
Hey, Linnell, this is David Baker from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm the president here.
When we finally got the call, my mom was in hospice at the time.
She needed hospice care, and she was in the room in the next room. It was pretty cool because she understood what it meant. She acknowledged it, and then pretty soon thereafter, she passed away. So just the gravity of the moment really kind of sunk in for all of us at the same time.
You ready?
When he had his bust unveiled, it was his granddaughter and daughter that were there at the time, and it was a beautiful moment.
We were excited, we were emotional, we were overwhelmed with love and appreciation and gratitude.
Awesome, great, wonderful. I mean, finally.
To pay tribute, what an incredible honor to be recognized by the Hall of Fame. I think he probably scouted 12 or 13 Hall of Fame players, which is incredible. If you look at his impact on our industry and our profession, it's unmatched.
What Bill was able to do in that 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, creeped into the 2000s, decades, was pretty special.
When you're gone and people are still doing research on you, people are still talking about you, you were special. You was beyond special.
We need to keep telling the Bill Nunn story because it's a story about life.
Bill Nunn had a tremendous impact on the Steelers. Looking back on it, Bill deserved to be called a super scout.
Bill Nunn was a special scout, and he was a special person to me. You wonder about the mystique of the Pittsburgh Steelers? It starts with Bill Nunn.
We wouldn't have modern football if it wasn't for the work of my grandfather. I'm just gonna claim it. I'm just gonna say it flat out.
I don't think I would have been the player that I've become, or nor the man that I am now, without Bill.
Today, up to 70% of the players in the league are black. But for decades, we never had a voice in the room. Bill Nunn was our voice. Not only did he find athletes who could play, he changed who had a chance.
If it wasn't for the barriers broken by my grandfather and him working with the Ronies to impart how important it was to engage players regardless of their race, we would not have the sport that we have now. And I want people to know that.